Know your limits, your ISO limits. Here's why. Sometimes you find yourself in a situation where something amazing is happening and you are not fully prepared. Ask me how I know. So here's a sunrise. And this sunrise was happening and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I did have my camera with me. What I didn't have was my tripod. So I wanted to photograph this sunrise, but the light was so low I didn't have the option of using the tripod and a longer shutter speed, as is ideal in a situation like this. So what I did is I opened up my aperture as far as I could. In this case, not very far, because I only had my 70 to 200 f4 with me, which I love. Here's why in another video. I love that lens, but it's not ideal for low light situations and no tripod. So I kind of had the odds stacked against me here. So I could only go down to f4 or open up to f4. Didn't have a tripod, and my only option from there is what? Bump up the ISO. So what I did is set my ISO to auto and just took some pictures at what the auto ISO recommendation from the camera was. This is not ideal because the camera will just jack it up as far as it needs to. I did set my internal ISO limit, which you can do in your camera, to 12,800 ISO, and now I need to set that for lower. Not a usable ISO for me, and I'm going to show you some examples here, but this is a really good example of just knowing the ISO limit of your camera. So when you're in a certain situation, you know how high you can go and still have a usable image. Test it. Test your image and test your camera in low light and just see what you can get. So all of that said, take a look at this. This is one of the last pictures that I took from the sunrise. You can see the sun is just, it's close. It hasn't risen yet, but it's close. So we're ISO 8000 at 1/80th of a second. And again, that's handheld. So these are not ideal settings. But look at this when I zoom into this image. Oh my goodness. That is pretty unusable in my book. So I'm using a 5D Mark IV, like an older Canon 5D Mark IV. So this was a top of the line camera back, 10 years ago. But I still use it. And I love the camera. The newer cameras, the R5, the R5 Mark II, they're going to do much, much better with higher ISOs. So keep that in mind. If you have a newer mirrorless camera, you're going to be in an entirely different situation. But this specific camera at ISO 8000 is unusable. Now, the cool thing is when you're in Lightroom, noise reduction. And the Lightroom noise reduction is really, really good. I don't like to use it typically because I find it kind of a crutch. And like if I just shoot it right, I don't need the crutch. But I tested it on this image just to see how well it did. And it produced this image, which I have added saturation to. However, look at the difference. When we zoom in here, look at the difference in the noise level here. Just comparing these two exact images, one with noise reduction run, one straight from the camera. And it's pretty profound. Now, is this an image that I would happily sell? It's not. I wouldn't, because it's not at that quality level that I prefer. But this is a super good example of knowing your ISO limits and using the tools at hand to make the best out of your situation. And in this case, the noise reduction, it worked out really well. So this is an image I could share online, and it's very beautiful. Like, this is just a gorgeous sunrise, but I didn't capture it to its full extent because I didn't have a tripod and I couldn't shoot it how I would have preferred, which would have been at ISO 100 and a shutter speed of maybe 20 seconds. But that would have provided a crisp image with minimal noise. But I didn't have the tools available, and so this is what I did. So there's an example. If we keep looking here, I'm gonna just pull up my information. So here's ISO 6400 out of the 5D Mark IV. This is better. I would say this is probably the limit. I don't know that I'd want to go higher than ISO 6400 because this is fine. I can work with this. Like, I think this is okay. If I go here, this is ISO 8000, just of the sky. And here's where it tends to fall apart. So I wouldn't go up to ISO 8000 if I had the choice, because it's just not great. Now here's an example of where the ISO was at 12,800, and it's really, really unusable here. I mean, you can't even, like, here's where it's really gonna come out here. If I just click auto and up the exposure a little bit, I mean, then we zoom in here and we're gonna really see it. I mean, completely unusable, almost to the point of being comical, because no, 12,800 ISO is not gonna work. Now, if you are just sharing online and you're not gonna print this, you know, as a 24 by 36 or bigger, okay, yeah, it's fine. It's just, it's up to you and where you decide what is acceptable for you as far as image quality and technical quality of an image goes. For me, I'm not happy with that, so my ISO limits, after this little experiment I'm learning, are down here in this level. With our ISO, what was it, 6,000? Where's my 6,000? Where's my 6,400? Yeah, 6,400. So my limit is ISO 6,400. I really will prefer to not exceed that with my Canon 5D Mark IV. Now, when I do upgrade, get another camera, then this is another test to say, okay, now where is my limit? And I'd imagine the 12,800 in an R5 or R5 Mark II is probably much more acceptable. I haven't tested that, but I'm sure we can get online and search for ISO tests for your specific camera model too. But it's good to get out there with your own equipment and do your own tests so you can see with your own eyes and your own results what's going to work for you. All of that said, for me, I'm going to continue using my 5D Mark IV because I love it so much, and I've got some EF lenses that I really enjoy, and so I'm going to hold on to it. And for now, it does the job that I need it to do and produces incredible images. I know that ISO 6400 is my limit, and so make sure I have my tripod with me, and so I'm prepared for magical moments like this so I can really capture it to its full extent. That's it. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It really means a lot to me, and I will see you next time.